Bear down, fam. I've been wrong before predicting Bears trades, but this one's different. Joey Porter Jr., Pittsburgh's star corner, is on Ryan Poles' radar according to Adam Hoax, and I'll break down why this one might actually happen, and why it could also blow up in their face. Meanwhile, DeAndre Swift is closing in on an extension nobody saw coming, with a number that's going to split the fan base. And I'm closing with the real story behind why Khalif Raymond chose Chicago with a broken heart, leaving Detroit behind. Buckle up, fam, because this one doesn't end there. Okay, fam, I need you to stick with me through this first story because it has a lot of layers, and I want us to understand all of them before jumping to conclusions. Let us start with Saturday's game, because that is where this whole conversation begins. The Bears fell 27-9 to Cincinnati in their second preseason game, and honestly, the score does not even tell half the story. Cincinnati's starting offense did not play a single snap. None of their starters saw the field. And even so, their second and third string offense strung together a 14-play, 7-minute drive to open the game, walking down the field like they were playing a practice squad. That, man, should not happen. Yes, it is preseason. Yes, small sample size. Yes, the sky is not falling. But when your backup secondary cannot stop another team's backup secondary, that flips on a warning light we cannot ignore. And this is where Adam Hoge enters the conversation, because when Hoge talks, those of us who follow this team seriously pay attention. He said, word for word, that with what they currently have on the roster, they are going to add somebody. He does not know if it is a trade, does not know if it is a waiver claim, but he is convinced the 53-man roster changes before the season kicks off. And I agree with him 100%. Now, the name circulating is the one that has me writing this script with my eyes wide open. Joey Porter Jr. of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let us talk about who Porter is first, because if you're not following him closely, you need to understand why this would be a massive deal. He is the son of Joey Porter, the legend, the linebacker who terrorized quarterbacks back in the 2000s. And the son turned out to be a corner, one of the best young players in the league at that position. He plays press coverage on the line as well as almost anyone. He has his father's aggression baked into his DNA, and he already established himself as an elite coverman in his third season. We are not talking about a depth piece here. We are talking about someone who, if he were available in a draft today, would be a top 5 corner easily. And here is the problem for Pittsburgh. Porter is in the final year of his rookie contract, and according to reporter Jordan Schultz, teams around the league already believe he could be available. James Harrison, the legend who played alongside Porter's father, publicly said that if the Steelers do not put pen to paper before the season starts, Porter should hold out. That is serious, fam. When a franchise icon publicly tells a player to hold his signature, the relationship is already cracked. And this is what makes me think, honestly, I could be wrong here, but I believe Pittsburgh already knows it lost this negotiation before it even started. If Porter enters the regular season without an extension, and with this level of public tension, his market price drops. Not because he is a worse player, but because the seller with less leverage is the one who needs to sell before losing him for nothing in 2027 free agency. And this is where Chicago comes in. The Bears are coming off their best season in over a decade. They check the first box any seller wants to see in a buyer, win now mode. The second box, available cap space, is more complicated. Right now they are ranked 19th in the league for 2027, with just over $16 million available. But, and this but is huge, they have contracts they can free up easily. Cutting Dayo Odeyingbo would save them $15 million, cutting Grady Jarrett $12.75 million. And if Kyler Gordon does not return to a reliable level, cutting him would save another $8.5 million. Add that up, and Chicago suddenly has over $35 million in potential space. That is not a money problem. That is a willpower problem. Let me connect this to something I have been documenting on this channel for months, the Ryan Poles pattern. Look at the list. Max Crosby, linked, never closed. Jonathan Vea, linked, never closed. Jesse Bates, linked, never closed. Poles has a very clear tendency to get connected to impact players who then never actually arrive in Chicago. And I, as a fan who has already been burned watching this happen multiple times, have to be honest. Until I see the signature on paper, I am not going to celebrate Joey Porter Jr. in a Bears jersey. And I have to be transparent about something, because that is what this channel is about. In previous videos I said Crosby and Bates were coming, and I was wrong both times. So if I sound cautious about Porter today, it is because I already learned that lesson. I am not putting my credibility behind a rumor again until I see this signature. But I also have to be fair to Poles here, because the criticism needs to stay balanced. His pattern of failed high-profile trades comes mixed with an opposite pattern of hits on players carrying medical risk or complicated locker room situations. And that connects directly to why Porter could be different from Crosby or Bates. This is not a medical problem. This is not an outlandish money negotiation. This is an organizational friction situation in Pittsburgh that likely drives the acquisition price down. That is exactly the type of window Poles has proven he can take advantage of before. Now, let us get into the tactical side, because this is not just business, this is real football. Look at the Bears' secondary situation right now. Kyler Gordon remains in PUP limbo with no clarity on his return. Tyreek Stevenson is playing the final year of his rookie deal, and being honest, has not shown enough yet for the front office to feel comfortable committing to him long term. And Jalen Johnson, their franchise corner, enters 2027 in the final year of his own contract too. Johnson already hinted before last season that he wanted to get back to the negotiating table after outplaying his deal in 2024. If he puts together another dominant year in 2026, he's not going to want to play out the final year without a new deal. That makes him an obvious holdout candidate if he does not get extended. Do you see the full picture now? Chicago has 3 corner pieces with simultaneous uncertainty: health with Gordon, development with Stevenson, contract with Johnson. Adding Porter is not a luxury. It is insurance against all 3 going wrong at the same time. And here comes my most controversial opinion of this section, the one I know some of you will not want to hear. If Chicago lands Porter without giving up a first-round pick, that is a steal, and I take it without thinking twice. But if the price climbs to something similar to what they themselves could ask for Jalen Johnson in a hypothetical trade, a second-rounder plus extras, then the whole operation becomes far more interesting, because they would basically be making a lateral trade of risk, swapping contract uncertainty for talent certainty for 1 year, betting they can resolve Johnson's extension in 2027 with much more comfort, knowing they already have Porter locking down the other side of the field. And here is something that might not sit well with everybody. If you give me the choice between spending that money on Porter for 1 year or saving it for Jalen Johnson's extension in 2027, I take Johnson every single time. Porter is a patch. Johnson is the long-term foundation of this secondary. I hope Poles sees it the same way. My prediction, with a genuine doubt I always bring to this channel, I believe this gets resolved in the next 2 weeks before the final roster cutdown, not at the October trade deadline. The reason is simple. Pittsburgh needs to resolve the Porter uncertainty before the regular season starts, because playing a full campaign with an elite, unhappy corner in the locker room is a risk no team with real aspirations wants to run. If I am wrong, and this drags into October, do not be surprised, because, again, Poles. And now we shift tone completely, going from talking about a possible defensive addition to talking about keeping someone who is already ours, someone who earned this contract with sweat on the field. Brad Biggs, in his August 23rd column after the second preseason game against Cincinnati, asked a direct question: is another extension possible before the season starts? And he answered without dancing around it. If a deal gets done before the September 13th opener at Carolina, DeAndre Swift is the player to watch. Quick context for those not following the numbers closely. Swift signed a 3-year, $24 million deal in free agency back in 2024, and he is entering the final year of that contract, earning $8 million this season. Biggs was honest and said he has no idea what the real odds are, but he highlighted something I think is central. Swift went from being a player many doubted would fit with Ben Johnson to becoming a genuine building block for the near future of this team. Let us go to the 2025 numbers, because this is not sentiment, this is hard evidence. Swift averaged 4.9 yards per carry, a career best, in his first season reunited with Johnson, who was his offensive coordinator back in 2022 in Detroit. He finished with 1,386 scrimmage yards, the highest total of his career, even topping his 2023 Pro Bowl season in Philadelphia. 34 catches for 299 receiving yards, showing he can be a real threat as a pass catcher too, not just a between-the-tackles runner. Part of that success came from the system. The Bears split carries between Swift and Kyle Monangai, 2025's breakout rookie, keeping both backs fresh and healthy all season long. And playing behind an improved offensive line and a run scheme that posted the 5th best run block win rate in the entire league, Swift hit better running lanes with more anticipation than at any point in his career. Now the uncomfortable question, the one that really matters to us as fans: can the Bears afford to pay Swift beyond 2026? Look at the market context, because this is what makes the decision complicated. Jahmyr Gibbs, over with the Lions, just blew up the running back market with $22.5 million a year. Bijan Robinson is making more than $20 million annually. And there are rumors Christian McCaffrey could sign another extension with the Niners that would put him among the highest paid running backs in the league. Swift, right now, makes $8 million a year, which ranks him 20th among NFL running backs in average annual value. To crack the top 10, he would need more than $13 million per season on his next deal. And here's my honest analysis, with the same doubt I always bring. The Bears can afford that in terms of raw cap space. No technical problem there. The question is not whether they can, it is whether they should at that specific price, considering everything else already in line. Think about the financial priority order this roster faces over the next 2 years. Caleb Williams could reset the quarterback market as soon as the 2027 offseason if he keeps improving his play. Rome Odunze, their top 10 pick from 2024, also enters the extension conversation in that same window, though it makes more sense for the Bears to exercise his fifth-year option first before negotiating anything bigger. And let us not forget, they already spent real financial capital this very camp extending Darnell Wright with a 4-year, $114 million deal in early August. That is the most recent proof that Poles is willing to move money early when he trusts the player. And this is exactly the pattern I want you to notice on this channel. Ryan Poles prefers to pay early for players who already proved their value in the right system before the market takes them away. He did it with Wright. He could do it with Swift. It is a disciplined management philosophy, completely different from the pattern of failed trades I criticized in the first story. And that contradiction is real. The same Poles, who does not close big trades for outside players, is the one who does close internal extensions with players he already knows and trusts. That tells me something about how this front office operates. They prefer known risk over unknown risk. And my personal stance, so it is clear, I would rather that extra money go toward the secondary before a running back, no matter how good Swift is. We already have Monagai waiting for his shot. The real urgency is on the other side of the ball. My prediction, with the usual doubt. I believe Swift's extension does get done, but not before the opener. I think it lands somewhere in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season, after Poles watches how Swift starts physically and confirms there are no signs of wear. If Swift comes out with another strong start like last year's, that 2-year deal, somewhere between $12 and $14 million annually, gets signed without drama. And honestly, that would be one of the smartest moves this front office can make because it locks in backfield continuity while the team handles the much bigger Caleb and Odunze conversations on the horizon. And to close things out, I want to tell you a story that does not involve multi-million-dollar contract numbers or high-profile trades. But for me, as a fan who values locker room culture just as much as raw talent, matters just as much as the other two. Calif Raymond signed with the Bears this offseason a 1-year deal worth up to $5.1 million after 5 seasons with the Detroit Lions. On the surface, this looks like a minor signing, a 32-year-old veteran receiver brought in mostly for depth and punt return work. But when you dig a little deeper into the story, you understand why this matters so much to the culture Ben Johnson is building at Hollis Hall. Raymond was not simply let go by Detroit. The Lions wanted him back. They made a comparable offer. He had deep emotional ties there, 5 years building relationships, including with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, after learning about the signing, took to social media and called him the best teammate he ever had. There were tears in that conversation, according to reports. And with all that emotional weight, Raymond still chose Chicago. Why? Listen to the quote, because this gives me chills every time I read it. He said he wanted to play in Ben's offense, that Johnson is extraordinarily creative, and that no matter where on the field he puts you, he is going to find a way to get you the ball. And he added that just being under his direction is a great privilege. That is not a player chasing the biggest check. That is an 11-year veteran choosing system and culture over comfort and already established relationships. And when he worked with Johnson in Detroit between 2021 and 2022, Raymond had the best seasons of his career. 576 yards in 2021, 616 in 2022. After Johnson left the direct system, his production dropped consistently, ending with barely 500 combined yards over his last 2 seasons in Detroit. That number feels like the strongest proof of all. It is not a coincidence. It is a direct correlation between Johnson's system and Raymond's production. And here's the part that connects to what Ryan Poles has been building since he took the general manager job back in 2022. Intentional veteran leadership. Look at the list of names Poles has specifically brought in for their locker room impact, not just their on-field production. Kevin Byard in 2024, a safety who needed to prove to the league and to himself that he was still a difference maker after Philadelphia did not re-sign him. He locked down the position, sure, but his most important role ended up being the one he played in the locker room. Now it is Raymond's turn. Luther Burden III, the rookie receiver we are all watching closely this year, already publicly said Raymond is like an extra coach on the field. He said, and I am quoting his exact words because they are perfect, that Khalif is amazing, that he is really like a coach out there, a great guy on and off the field, that you can learn from him, that his release package off the line is out of this world, and that he is a great leader for the team. When you hear a 21-year-old rookie talk that way about a veteran who just walked in the door, that tells you everything you need to know about the culture forming inside that building. And Antoine Randall, the assistant receivers coach who worked directly with Raymond in Detroit, confirmed it too. He said Raymond exemplifies exactly what they look for in a player, that he has love and passion for the game, and that he is going to be a great teammate not just for the receiver room, but for the entire team. Now, being fair to the tactical side and not just the emotional one, there is a real roster battle worth mentioning here. Raymond is fighting for the WR3 role against Jade Walker, the fan favorite, who earned a 53-man roster spot as an undrafted free agent last year. Walker had few real opportunities in 2025, sitting inactive for 7 of the first 12 games, but Ben Johnson, according to Randall L. himself, sees Raymond with a clear role as the offense's third receiver, taking advantage of the 150 vacated targets left by the departures of DJ Moore and Olamide Zaccheaus. My honest opinion on this battle, I believe both make the roster, and it would not surprise me if they end up splitting the role depending on the offensive package. Raymond brings punt return value that Walker does not have, and that probably gives him the edge for the starting role. But if Walker keeps showing what he showed in camp according to reports from Windy City Gridiron, Johnson is not going to have any problem splitting the snaps based on what each week requires. And I will say this with my hand on my heart. Signings like this excite me more than any first-round trade because a locker room does not get fixed with talent alone. It gets fixed with people who actually want to be there. What I can tell you without any doubt at all is this. Caliph Raymond choosing Chicago over Detroit, tiers included, with a comparable offer sitting on the table, is exactly the kind of decision that validates everything Ben Johnson is building. Culture cannot be bought with money. It gets built with players who want to be there specifically because of the system and the man running it. And there you have it, fam. 3 stories, 3 completely different angles, and 1 single connecting thread. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson are building this roster with crystal clear intention, filling the secondary hole before it turns into a crisis, locking in offensive value before the market makes it more expensive, and protecting the locker room culture with players who choose Chicago for the right reasons. Does the Joey Porter Jr. trade get done? Does Swift sign before September 13th? I have my predictions. I already gave them to you, but I want to hear yours. Drop a comment below telling me which of these 3 stories matters most for this team's immediate future, and whether you think Poles finally breaks his streak of trades that never close. If this video gave you something, drop a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bear down, always.